This video, the reason I'm making this video is actually to discuss the writer Somerset Maugham. Now, as an English teacher, he's a writer that I have never actually taught, and the reason for that is he's not on any of the reading lists. Now, his most famous novel of Human Bondage, written in 1915, was a bestseller, as were many of his other novels. And of Human Bondage was critically acclaimed and really well received, obviously being a bestseller. But he generally, by the critics, was not as highly regarded as his modernist contemporaries. So the likes of James Joyce and Virginia Woolf and D.H. Lawrence, many highly regarded critics did not feel that he had the talent and the skill that these contemporaries did. He was an influence on D.H. Lawrence and the famous playwright Noel Coward. The contemporary writer Ian McEwan has cited Somerset Maugham as being a huge influence on his work, and I think that's very evident in that their style is quite similar, and you can really see Somerset Maugham's influence on Ian McEwan. But he, for me, my favourite novel of Somerset Maugham has got to be The Moon and Sixpence, which tells the tale of a character called Charles Strickland who leaves his middle-class existence in England. His children go to rugby school, and he just leaves all of that behind him to go in pursuit of what he believes is his purpose, to be a painter. So he runs away to Paris to become an artist, and it is based on Paul Gauguin, and actually that becomes clear at the end of the novel when the paintings are described as being very similar in style to the style of Paul Gauguin. For me, yeah, a really profound novel. Of Human Bondage, also very profound, obviously, but the Moon and Sixpence just resonated with me. That idea that Charles Strickland didn't feel he had a choice, and just felt he had a greater purpose and something more important to give the world. And he didn't see it as a conscious decision. It was something he had to do for his own survival. So I found that really interesting. Other novels, so The Painted Veil was made into a film, and the reason I wanted to talk about him is I've literally just finished reading a novella of his called Catalina. I read some reviews online of this, and people said that they didn't feel he knew whether it was a satire or a comedy, or whether it was supposed to be a serious piece of work. For me, I just found it very entertaining, and I can see why many of the critics did actually say that his novels read more like plays. The Catalina is about a young crippled girl who is visited by the Blessed Virgin Mary in 16th century Spain, and as a result of the miracle that's performed, she's no longer crippled, and then she can marry the love of her life. When I'm reading it, it really reminded me of The Cook of Castamar, which is a Netflix miniseries that I adored and watched over and over again. And actually, as I read that, I can see why many of the critics felt his novels were more like plays. And obviously many of his novels were adapted into films as well, not just The Painted Veil, but there were many more. So yeah, actually, on that note, Reese Witherspoon, if you are watching this, or your book club, I would love to collaborate on adapting this screenplay of Catalina for a mini Netflix series. I think it would be really successful, and I really visualised it as I was reading it. But if you haven't read Somerset Maugham, please do. I just feel, yes, he doesn't go into as much descriptive depth as those other modernist writers that I've mentioned. Perhaps he's not as soul-searching, and as I put down the novel, as I came to the end of Catalina, was I moved? No, not really. Did I feel anything? No. I did, however, when I read of Human Bondage and at the end of The Moon and Sixpence. I really found that much more profound. However, The reason, though, so Catalina aside, with his other more highly regarded novels, another novel that I haven't mentioned was Cake and Ale, which features or is based loosely on Thomas Hardy, and you can see the classism and the prejudice of the literary elite in the United Kingdom and in England at that time, like the snobbery. It was quite interesting. And so for me, what makes Maugham profound, okay, is not his soul-searching description, but is actually his perception just from the dialogue and from the characters' actions. It shows me that Somerset Maugham has a profound understanding of human plight and of the motivations of the everyman. So that is why I highly recommend him, and do read Somerset Maugham if you haven't already.